Thank you guys for tuning back into the No Fire podcast for episode number 5. We're happy to be here, happy that you're here, and let's go ahead and just jump right on into it. Waste no time here. So there's definitely a couple topics that I want to touch on, and I went into extreme detail this week with a couple things, so we'll touch on that later. But first, we had some recent happenings, so we'll go ahead and touch on that first if you want to tell your little story about what happened just a couple hours ago.
Well, I had to run to Lowe's. Well, I went to Lowe's first, and then I went to Home Depot.
Mm-hmm.
At Home Depot, I was just grabbing some perlite for propagating, minding my business in the plant section. And a older gentleman walks up to me, and my back is to him, and he says, "Are you Italian?" Mm-hmm. And I look over and I just shake my head no, look back at what I'm looking at, turn my back to him. Then he goes, "Spanish?" And I nod yes. And he's like, "Well, what kind of Spanish?" "There's all types of Spanish." And I'm like, well, I'm Spanish, Puerto Rican, Portuguese. Those are the majority of the three. And the man just goes on a rant about asking me if I model, telling me how he saw me when he walked into the plant store and how he couldn't help but to walk over to say something to me because he thought I was so beautiful, how he sees the Portuguese in me, and so on and so forth. And I'm just, very uncomfortable, not because he was like creepy or anything, just because I don't like, I don't know.
Oh, you're just minding your business and some random person walks up to you and starts asking you questions. It's a little, a little weird.
It's weird. And not that I don't like talking to strangers, because I don't mind talking to strangers. I do that every single day. It's more of the context and what he was talking to me about, mm-hmm. and how beautiful I was. And then he goes into this rant about he asked me if I modeled, and when I said no, he said that I was depriving the world of beautiful art. And I'm obviously trying to respect the dude, but at the same time, are you really respecting me? Yeah. Then he's telling me how, recently he's retired, and he starts that he never had a cell phone before, but that he recently got a phone, and how he was trying to learn how to navigate social media. Mind you, I'm still in the plant aisle having this conversation with this man. Mm-hmm. And he tells me how he was trying to figure out social media. He's these girls are onto something on there. They take photos of themselves, and you have to pay to watch them. And the way he's explaining
that comment right there is suspect,
right? And he's telling me, I don't know what I'm doing. It's not like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, okay.
And he was, and I said, "Are you talking about Instagram?" Knowing damn well he's talking about OnlyFans. And he's like, mm-hmm. "Yeah, that's the one, saying that it was Instagram."
Yeah.
And he was saying, he's explaining to me what he's never seen, but what he's was told was on social media. And he's explaining this to me in a "you have to pay for it" form, mm-hmm. again making me feel like it's OnlyFans.
Yeah.
And the man proceeds to ask me if I had any content that he could he didn't say the word content. He was asking me if I was into that, if I sold myself basically on the internet, which is such a strange thing for someone to ask you. And
yeah.
I was no, I was I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm I didn't explain this to him, obviously, but I'm obviously not against it. But I was just telling him, I was I'm just too shy of a person. I wouldn't be comfortable doing that, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And he is just giving me all the reasons, telling me that that's even more of a reason to do it, that it's more wanted or looked upon or whatever he said. And I'm just sitting there is this real life right now? The man said, "I want to give you my information, and that way if you ever sell anything, I will subscribe to it." And he's going like this, "I will subscribe to it." And I'm like, "Thank you, sir."
Yeah, that's just too much.
It was a lot.
And then he was walking away and asked for your name. And
my name is always a topic of conversation when people when I introduce myself. And he's like, "Oh, Sapphire, even your name's beautiful." And I'm like, "Thank you." And I ran into him again on my way out after checkout. And he's like, "Bye, Sapphire." I'm like, "Bye, John." John was his name because he obviously told me his name.
Yeah. It's just, what a creepy interaction, and just so... I don't like talking to random people.
Yeah.
and I know you feel the same way about some random stranger approaching you. It'd be one thing if he was just trying to figure out, like, oh, could you show me how to use this part on my phone type of thing, like innocent old man type thing.
Or
that was
even
not innocent at all. What he was trying to basically ask you if you had a subscription service,
yeah.
so he could creep on you.
He obviously, like, now bits and pieces come back to me. He asked me if I was into Pilates because he said my body was so nice. As this, like, man who is shorter than I am, this tiny little man is, like, looking me up and down, and I'm like, this is, like, so uncomfortable. And he's like, I'm not trying to be, he said, I'm not trying to sound like a creep, or I'm not trying to sound like a weird old man or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
You're asking if I do Pilates.
You're there, bud. I just don't understand why men feel, whether it's the need or like just the ability to even say anything about like a women's like figure in general. It's just not something you say.
Yeah.
I mean, not.
That's what I think, obviously, but like I've had some, you know, weird shit said to me in the past, but like this was like completely different level. Like, this man is like, give me your business card and I will buy you type shit. And I'm looking at him like, sir, you are barking up the wrong motherfucking tree.
Yeah. It's weird.
It's strange. It was so strange. I literally text you immediately as I turn away from him, and I'm like, I got a good story for you.
Yeah. Oh, what an awkward thing to deal with. I'm sorry you had to undergo that.
And I always go to the plant department. I never meet creepy men like that.
I guess he was just strolling through that area and just happened to see you. You tickled his fancy in one way or another.
Yeah, I mean...
Are you Italian?
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, okay, you want to ask me my nationality? Fine. Like, people ask me my nationality all the time.
I don't even... I don't know. Maybe I'm just anti-social in that way, but...
I don't ever ask people their nationality.
Ever.
I think it's just a way of people to, like, open up conversation.
Yeah, well, I don't do that with random strangers.
Well, people do that to me all the time, and I try to be nice, obviously, but, like, you know, I'm in my own world. I got a lot of things going on in this noggin of mine. Yeah. The last thing I'm thinking about is if somebody's checking me out where I'm at, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just...
Well, it's one thing to, like, compliment somebody's, like, outfit or, like, a purse, glasses, tattoos, stuff like that, but...
He complimented my face, my body, my tattoos. And I'm like, thank you. He was like, you know, this is art. Talking about my body. This is art, and you're depriving the world of it. And I'm like, sir, I'm not like this, like, diamond you found on the side of the road. Like, I'm just a woman minding her business in the plant section looking for some perlite to go propagate her plants.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, good old men. Just feeling pretty brazen out there.
Yeah.
Well, on that topic of buying things and weird old men relationship type stuff, we can go ahead and jump into the relationship corner. So this relationship corner is going to be kind of open-ended for a little bit of discussion and interpretation. But this week I wanted to talk about money. Because obviously money in a relationship can cause issues, and I think we can share some tips on how we do our finances and maybe talk about some scenarios that wouldn't necessarily relate to us and give some insight on that as well.
Okay.
So the first thing I was thinking of, say money does cause a issue in a relationship, whether one person is paying for more stuff and the other maybe isn't paying for enough and they feel like it's a unequal balance. I think there's a lot of different things that kind of go into that though. So if one person's making more money than the other person, or if one person is kind of like a stay-at-home parent or something like that, all that is obviously going to be balanced into the equation. But if you're in a scenario where both people are making a similar amount of money and one person is spending significantly more in the relationship, I think that would definitely cause issues.
Yeah, probably.
I think one way to remedy that, if you are on a similar like field of money, is to split everything 50-50.
Yeah.
Literally everything. Just
Okay,
split
you
it
can
all.
do like bill by bill,
Yeah.
total the bills half it, total the rent half it, however you want to do it.
Yeah, split meals, split the grocery bill, split rent, mortgage, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope if you have a mortgage with another person that you've gotten this figured out by then, but hey,
You never know.
you never know.
And you don't judge.
Well, one thing that we do is we have a joint account that our rent comes out of, which is obviously our biggest bill,
Mm-hmm.
and then we pretty much split everything else.
Yeah.
We have a couple bills that we pay separately, but they're of a similar amount, and then you pay for your stuff and I pay for my stuff. That way everything is kind of 50-50.
I mean, when we go grocery shopping, we split that.
Yeah.
Just that's the easier way, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because then, I mean, you don't want to have like, you don't want to harbor like resentment towards your partner because of something like that. Like, obviously, like finances are a big part of any relationship, especially if you like live together and have shared bills. So, I mean, that's definitely something to talk about.
So I want to kind of pose a question with the whole money scenario. Say it's early on in the relationship, but you've moved in together,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say in this example, I'll just put a specific amount on it so it's easy to understand. The woman makes $100,000 and the guy makes $50,000.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they should still split everything 50-50?
I think that that's going to be obviously decided between them. I mean, if they're both comfortable with that and that's okay financially for the both of them, I don't see, that being an issue. But if it's going to cause more of a strain on one partner, if they're making less money,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe that's something that they could like reevaluate and be like, hey, I can cover 2/3 of the rent, or I can do, I'll cover the utilities, or however you work it out. So it's like not strenuous on the other partner.
Yeah, I mean, obviously every situation is going to be different. Specifically the scenario that I'm talking about where the woman makes double what the guy makes. I still think, especially early on in the relationship, you should split everything 50-50. Like, obviously keep your own bills separate if you can, like car insurance, car payment, phone, all that stuff. But split rent 50-50, split your utilities 50-50, stuff like that. Because you're both coming into the relationship with stuff, and it's not fair for one partner to take over payments of something because of the other person's, whether it's their inability to hold a job down and eventually make more money, or whether they have debt, whatever the case is. I don't think that should weigh down on the other person. Once you're deeper into the relationship and you're thinking about marriage, then it's time to really think about the finances and start to think, okay, what can we do to eliminate this debt or get you a better paying job, or whatever the case may be. Then you can really get into the nuances of it. But I think, especially in early relationships, everything should just be split 50-50.
Yeah.
Because that's going to eliminate any arguments or anything like that. Yeah, the other person makes more money, but they got in that position somehow. There's a reason they make that much money.
Yeah, you're right.
And there's a reason you make how much you make. So
I felt like that was kind of, when I was thinking about it that way, like it was kind of harsh to think of it that way.
yeah, harsh or not, like, I just think that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's going to cause more issues, because then that woman is going to become resentful of paying the bills and taking care of this other person when they shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
It's not their responsibility.
Yeah, they didn't have a child. They got a partner.
Yeah, exactly. So in scenarios like that, I think that works out. And I think early on in the relationship, it's really important to be honest about your finances. Like, if you have debt looming over your head, let your partner know.
You did.
Yeah, and you can get it figured out.
You literally crushed your debt. Like, you got it over and done with and put it behind you.
Yeah, I mean, it took a long time.
I know, but you did what you had to do.
Yeah.
Not that you had like hundreds of $1,000s in debt. But
No, it was just credit card debt.
yeah.
But credit card interest rates can go crazy, and then you can get yourself in a hole where you're not able to pay it back, and it can cause a real issue.
Yeah.
So it's important to keep those things under control, learn how to deal with them early on in your life, and then you won't have to deal with the consequences later on.
You're right.
And I think now we're in a good financial position as far as saving money, staying under the amount that we earn, debt to income ratio, all that good stuff. And we did a budget one time, but budgeting is kind of exhausting. I'm sure there's apps out there that make it super easy, but you just need to get a realistic idea of how much money you're going to consistently bring in every month and how much is going out. Figure how much you have to play with, make a plan, and then you're good to go.
Yeah.
Obviously, unforeseen expenses are always going to pop up, whether it's, car repairs and stuff like that. That's why you have a little emergency fund set away. You can use that money for it and then immediately build that back up as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Because it's important. You need a little rainy day fund constantly. Well, we know because we were out of work for 3 months this year. I mean, technically I was out of work for like 5 months, but that was my own doing. So, but 3 of it was, kind of not 100% my fault.
Yeah, not your fault at all.
And one thing that I want to note is don't use money issues as ammunition during a fight either.
I don't think we ever do that.
No, I'm not saying that we do. I'm just saying you should never do that.
No, yeah, that's terrible.
Because that's just going to, create animosity between you two and just cause more issues in the future.
Yeah.
But when you find a financial situation that works good for the both of you, then just stick with that and ride that out.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to readjust, reacclimate, take new things into expense, right?
Into account.
Is that what I meant?
I don't know. Maybe.
That's what I meant. Take your new expenses into account is what I was trying to say.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they're always changing, baby.
So when I was thinking about what we should talk about for the relationship corner, and I was thinking about money being a big issue among relationships, I started doing a little bit more research on money itself. I was thinking about the economy is kind of weird right now. Price houses are really high. Are people making more money? That was kind of my thought process. So I started doing some more research, and I stumbled upon the history of money. And in the beginning of I read a couple different articles. I watched a couple videos. In all of them, it goes back to the barter system. So basically, you're trading a good for another good. And all of them had lists. They were like spices and furs and, foods of some sort, all these different things. On every single list, for whatever reason, skulls were on there. Like they were trading human skulls. Like, oh, I'm going to give you this head for, this cow's milk. And in my head, I'm like confused. So I try to do more research. I'm like, okay, there's got to be a reason human skulls had to be useful for something, right? I couldn't find anything. I'm searching on Google and I'm getting no answers. And at this point, I'm just being confused. The only thing I could find online is that they were potentially being used as cups. I'm like, okay, how? And I guess maybe bartering dates back to 6,000 BC in the Mesopotamian tribes. So obviously this is a really, really, really long time ago, but they had to have something else that was better to use for cups than a human skull.
A fucking leaf would be better for a damn cup.
Yeah, it's kind of gross, right?
Yeah. And because it's so far back in the day, how do they have any means to sanitize that, to clean it, that
wasn't their thought process.
Obviously, that's what I'm saying. So imagine how gross that would be to use it to.
Yeah. So I'm looking for different information on skulls, and I find one thing, and I'm like, oh, this looks promising. Maybe this is why they had some financial hierarchy to them or whatever. And it talks about skull tribes where they would decorate them. And they were talking about archaeologists uncovering things, and there's just all these skulls and they were decorated in weird ways. So I'm thinking maybe they had some religious
ritual
something going on where having a skull maybe in your dwelling was important to have. to ward off maybe death or something like that. I have no idea, but I just thought it was interesting that all of the list on there, they would, spices and furs and skulls, but they wouldn't detail, like, obviously spices and furs, what people are using that for,
Yeah.
but human skulls is not something that you would think would be a powerful bartering piece.
Yeah, no.
And then it goes on to talk about in the Great Depression, when people had absolutely no money, bartering came back. And I was thinking, if we had some sort of recession, do you think bartering would make a comeback in the world?
Yeah.
I think it could too, because people spend a lot of money on random stuff that they don't need.
Yeah.
And if they really needed food, like really badly, bartering could come back.
Yeah.
I'll trade you this PS5 for 5 pounds of white rice. Like, I don't know what we would be trading, but if it came to the point where, say, there's a civil war or a war where, money's tight for everybody, things are happening in the world, I mean, it could. We could get set back to 6000 BC.
Yeah.
Do some bartering. So the original search was for like relationship issues, and then I found money, and I did the history on the history of money. But all the while I'm looking at this, in the back of my head, I'm always curious about what the average income is for America. So I wrote a couple things down specifically about the average. So if you had to take a guess, what would you say the average income is for one person, average salary for a year? What would you say it is?
Like current day?
Current day, yeah.
I'm going to say it's something ridiculous, like 35,000.
So very far off. According to the latest figures by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, the average salary in the United States is $74,738 per year. That sounds ridiculously high, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that that's true at all. So I had to do more digging, obviously. I wasn't just going to say, oh, yep, everybody makes $75K a year and that's how it is. That means that everybody's making over $6,000 a month. So even if you're living in an area that's kind of expensive, you should be able to pay for your rent in under 2 weeks. And within that second to third week, you should be able to cover the rest of your bills. So your income to debt ratio, unless you've done something really stupid, should be good. Mm-hmm. You should be able to basically pocket 30 to 40% of all your money, whether it's going into 401k, different assets, whether you're buying random stuff. You should have money to spend, even if things are expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming that this is just a single person with no kids and no other responsibilities. Obviously, that's not the case for everybody. Mm-hmm. But the people that I see complaining online about not making enough money and having it hard in life are single people. They don't have any kids or responsibilities or anything.
And they're not making $74K.
They're definitely not making $74K. So like I said, I had to do a little bit more digging because it felt suspicious to me. It's like, that's a lot of money for the average person to be making.
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm like, okay, well, an average is taking the top earners, the lowest earners, and, doing an average, what we learned in basic math. Mm-hmm. So I started to think, well, that doesn't add up. We don't want the top 1% averaged into, the bottom 1%. We want a realistic idea of what normal people are making in America.
Right.
Not just the average, because the average is going to be thrown off by the trillionaires of America. So I found a couple lists, but it was incredibly hard, and I couldn't find it, the median income of a normal person in America. It's not available. But they had a list of the 50 states. They had averages and medians, so I wrote those down too. So the average salary by state, the number one state is Massachusetts. I didn't think it would be Massachusetts. For some reason, I was thinking New York or California.
That's where
just because it's so expensive to live there, or maybe like Oregon, Washington, something like that. Anyways, Massachusetts, average salary by state, the number one, $76,600 a year. That's just below the average of the entire United States. That doesn't make sense. That seems weird, right?
That's strange.
So I also wrote down the lowest. In spot number 50, Mississippi, average, 45,180 a year. So you're telling me that the average of the United States is just below the highest earning state
That doesn't make any sense.
and not even close to being in the middle? There's a $30,000 discrepancy there. That's huge.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So I went on to look more for the median because the median's going to give us a more true representation of what people are actually making. And I found the median household income. I couldn't find just a single person. So the median household income by state, not by specifically the U.S., number one was Maryland with $90,203. That doesn't sound ridiculously high to me. That's the household income. So that's like a married couple
Yeah.
in most cases. That's not that much money. Like, yeah, one person could be the breadwinner, the other one could be staying at home. But I think a lot of couples both work nowadays. So that's saying that each of them make 45 grand a year. That's not very much at all.
Yeah.
That's working a very mundane job and getting by.
Yeah.
That's not anything crazy. And then in spot 50 again was Mississippi, and it was 48,716. So it was actually a little bit higher than the average. I guess rich people don't live in Mississippi.
I guess not.
So it said that the average U.S. person was making almost $75,000 a year. The median household income for the United States, $69,000. It should be way higher than that if the average person's making 75.
Yeah. Well,
The household income should be closer to like 100 grand or more. So the median household income is less than the average person making, or the average person in America, which doesn't make any sense. So I think a lot of the statistics that are online about what normal people are making is very incorrect.
or not updated.
Well, it said I was specifically looking for 2024 because I didn't want outdated information because so much has changed since COVID.
Yeah.
I think it kind of like took a dip and went back up. And with the price of everything, you would hope that wages would come to meet them a little bit. I mean, obviously, I don't think they're quite there yet, but the information online just seems so out of touch.
It's unrealistic.
It is unrealistic. And I saw that middle class is considered 50,000 to 150,000. It's such a big gap. Like somebody who's just getting by supporting a family on $50,000, and then you have somebody making 150 and they got their BMW in the driveway and no kids, and they're considered in the middle class as well.
Well,
I just think that's funny.
they don't have kids. I guess that's why.
I mean, I guess there's no real way to describe those discrepancies well if there's low, middle, and upper.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I know there's a couple things you wanted to talk about.
My topic was about how like different we were brought up.
Yeah.
Like my parents were very young when they had me.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was 19 when she got pregnant with me, 20 when she had me. Your mom was 35 when she had you.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
So, I mean, 15-year age gap, and like, you know, our parents alone. And my dad was, if he's 55 now, he was 24 when he had me.
Yeah.
Well, she had me, but you know what I mean. So I feel like we grew up very differently. I also grew up with a lot of like half brothers and half sisters, and like the way we grew up, that was your brother, that was your sister. There was no half, step, full, like
Yeah.
it didn't matter if like mom gave birth to you or if you were dad's kid from another, you know, mom. It didn't matter. Those are my brothers, those are my sisters,
Right.
all the same. And you know that you've met a good chunk of my family, so you know how we roll. But like beyond that, thinking about how like I don't think my parents were like obviously in the nicest way like emotionally mature enough to raise children. I mean, like they were kids themselves raising kids.
Yeah, I know how I was when I was that age. So.
Yeah, I think about it all the time, like how at my age now, my mom had a 10-year-old. it's just seems so unrealistic to me, which like kind of caters back to that topic we were talking about. By like, I know I'm 31, but like I don't feel like I'm 31.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, one of the things I compare it to. But we also like grew up different in like how our parents were towards us. Like my parents were very like tough love, suck it up, rub some dirt on it and move the fuck on. And I feel like your parents were more like nurturing.
Yeah, I would definitely, I don't know if nurturing is the right word, but that's the best way that I can think to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like your parents, like my parents, for example, I can't really like speak for your parents because I didn't grow up with them. But like my parents, for example, like had a countdown until we turned 18.
Yeah.
Like when I said that to you,
maniacal.
when I said that to you the first time, I was like, did your parents ever have a countdown for you turning 18? And you looked at me like I had 7 heads.
It just seems like such a foreign thing because of the way, not only the way that I was raised, but the way that I would think about like having children now.
Yeah.
It's like kicking them out when they're 18 is, you're so unprepared for responsibility and life when you're 18 years old. You don't know anything. School has not prepared you for real life.
No, 100%.
Not even a little bit.
I mean, like, with like how everything worked out for me, obviously it panned out a little bit differently than anticipated. Like I was out before 18 because my mom passed my senior year, and you know, home wasn't the same anymore. I was thrown into the world, and like I feel like that has also made me the person that I am today, and like how your parents were with you has also made you how you are, like
100%.
But I feel like the different upbringings kind of like help us teach each other. Like I am sometimes cold with how I say things, and like my tone comes out like I'm kind of being an asshole, and I'm really not. It's just I just say it like how I think it, and like it rolls off the tongue in a certain way, and like you'll bring it to my attention when I'm, you know, saying something that kind of seems like I'm being an ass.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't mean it that way. And it's just because my family was so straightforward my entire life. Like we used to say, we don't sugarcoat shit. Meaning we just say it how it is. And like, I'm not saying that's a bad way to be, but I am saying that like now as an adult, it does make like
communicating with people,
it makes it difficult. Yeah, because like I'm obviously not trying to hurt someone's feelings, but like in the same sense, like I don't really want to tiptoe around the point, you know? Like it's just how things come out. And like sometimes I catch catch myself more because of being with somebody like you who, you know, you tell me like your words are coming off harsh, or you know, why are you being mean, or why are you saying it like that? And it's like, I totally didn't mean it that way. Like that is just how it came out. Like, and I try to be more mindful of it.
You try.
I'm better.
Oh, you're much better now. Yeah. You got a little ways to go, but we're getting there.
No, I'm not gonna listen, I'll never change who I am.
I'm not telling you to change who you are.
If you're telling me I still got more work to do.
Like when you're talking to a customer service rep on the phone, don't yell at them.
I don't. Who'd I yell at on the phone?
Sometimes you get a little frustrated on the phone.
With who?
Like our rental company. The last time you were talking to them on the phone.
Excuse me, we almost had to pay way more in rent for no reason.
Don't get me wrong. Sometimes you have to be the squeaky wheel.
Yeah, I was a squeaky wheel. That was my third that was my third phone call to them after 2 emails and like 5 attempted fails at signing the lease.
See, honestly, this is when this comes in
That's
handy.
my point. Yeah.
So it's a good thing because I don't want to have to talk to somebody like that, or I just won't.
Well, and that's another thing is like I always was taught to stand up for myself, and I feel like that's why like when I feel like I'm being attacked in a certain situation that I feel like I have to like whip it out.
I don't ever feel like I'm being attacked.
Yesterday I was taking someone's, you know, put their order in, blah 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 blah, get their credit card information, and like, you know how often I work to go. You know how often I do this shift. The computer was saying payment failed. Doesn't mean the credit card is declined. That usually means something's wrong with the way that we entered in the credit card number or the expiration. When I go to explain to the person on the phone, I said, oh, you know, the card didn't decline, but it's not getting pushed through. I said, do you mind me giving me the numbers again? And she starts screaming the numbers 447, and I'm like, and I literally had to say, ma'am, you yelling at me is not going to make me understand the numbers any better than I already didn't understand them the first time. Just like that. And she told me she didn't have time for me, nor did she have time for this shit. Like I had time for it in the middle of a holiday.
Yeah.
And put someone else on the phone. The person answers the phone and said, I'm sorry about that, honey. Where were we? And I'm like, why is this nice man dealing with a crazy person like that? But you know what? I'm the crazy and you're the nice. So not to that extent, though.
Yeah.
All I asked was for your credit card number again. And I was very nice about it. I wasn't like, ho, your card got declined. So you a broke bitch. Give me something else. Like, that is not what I said. All I said was that it declined. I mean, that it didn't go through. Not even that. I don't even like using the word declined.
Yeah.
I hate going up to tables.
I get worried sometimes.
Yes.
Because they're always like, well, it has money. I don't know why it didn't go through. I'm like, well, something's wrong.
My favorite is when they pull up their banking statement and they're like, I have money on it. And I'm like,
it doesn't matter.
Your card's still not going through. So it doesn't matter what you have in that account. This that's connected to it, it don't work.
Unless you can turn this piece of plastic into money, that doesn't help me.
Yeah, go get some cash out another way. That's not with this card because this card's not working.
Yeah.
I'm always like, oh, I'm so sorry. The system's having a hard time reading this card. Like, I'd never say the word decline because I feel like it embarrasses them, but it also makes me uncomfortable.
I say, for whatever reason, this card's not going through for me.
Yeah, see, you don't use the word declined either because it's so harsh.
Yeah.
See?
Especially when they're with somebody else.
You're broke. Your card didn't go through. Give me another one.
Yeah. I think a lot of times people are traveling, and if you go and spend your money somewhere that's not close to home, they'll freeze your account.
That's true.
So I think that happens pretty often. Or if your card information gets stolen and they freeze the account, that'll happen too. So there's a lot of different reasons your card will get declined. It doesn't mean that you don't have money.
Yeah. Every time I go out of town to Jersey, mostly, my card gets flagged every time I go. So if I forget to do the travel notice, I won't be able to use it.
Yeah.
I can call them and be like, hey, I'm here in Jersey and you guys aren't pushing my card through, but it's way less annoying if you just do it ahead of time.
Yeah.
And we're Florida. True. We're like a travel destination. People come here. And how many times are you taking a credit card and their zip code's like 09102? That's
some
probably
crazy.
A Jersey one. It's 08102, something like that.
All right. What do you got for me?
So when I went to get my nails done today, I was talking to my nail lady just about like random things. And she has like a bunch of different reptiles.
Okay.
So it was making me think that I kind of want another reptile.
Yeah.
One specifically.
Okay.
And I'm thinking like the only thing I would really have to buy for it would be a new tank, which is obviously like probably the more expensive aspect of it. But I think I want another beardie.
You want another bearded dragon?
It's been a year since Rambo died.
Mm-hmm.
Backstory. Rambo I had for 8 years, almost 9 years. He died last Christmas. He was an old dragon.
Yeah.
And he was my boy.
Do you want like the same kind of dragon? Do they have different types of bearded dragons?
They have like different colored bearded dragons. He was like a traditional, I don't really know what it's called.
Desert colored.
Honestly, I was so young when I got him. I was 20 maybe?
Yeah.
So I like, picked up some information along the way, but now being the type of person that I am, I feel like I would really like want to like make the habitat like perfect for it this time. Not that it wasn't good last time, because it was good.
You just go over the top with it.
Well, yeah. And I was thinking I could like put like live plants in there for it.
Isn't that kind of expensive?
What? Building a terrarium?
I know Joey goes over the top with her dragons, and I feel like it's pretty expensive.
She only has one dragon.
I thought she had two.
No, she has one dragon.
Am I tripping?
She has cats.
I could have swore she had two dragons.
No, she has the one dragon. But I do like how her enclosure is. Like her enclosure is perfect. So I would like something like that, like with the tile too, because it's really good for their nails to help like keep their nails short.
Yeah.
Again, it's something I want to do more research on to like make sure that we're equipped for that. And then it's also like trying to figure out like where would I put the tank and whatnot.
Right.
But like I just kind of want something.
Yeah, we're not getting another dog or a cat. So.
I don't want another, like I do, but like I don't want that because that's like a more responsibility and like between making their food and buying their vitamins and doing all the things that we already do for them. Like another dog or cat would definitely be more expensive. So that's what I'm thinking, reptile.
Okay. I mean, if that's what you want to do, go for it. Yeah.
I need to get a Mother of Dragon tattoo.
Mother of Dragon tattoo?
Yeah.
Like a Game of Thrones
Yeah.
tattoo?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I am Mother of Dragon. Even though my dragon is no longer here, I will always be Mother of Dragon. Daniel and Sarah got me a little dragon right after he passed.
Yeah. I'm cool with you doing that if that's what you want to do. I say go for it.
But you're not going to want to hold him if it's even a boy. That's another thing. You don't know the gender usually.
It's not that I don't think reptiles are cool. I do. I don't know. I'm just not that much of a hands-on person.
I don't know.
I don't want to touch babies, and I don't want to touch reptiles.
I'm still in like my beauty group. I like silenced the notifications after Rambo died because I was so like,
yeah.
I was just sad. I miss my boy. And like I kept saying, I'm never going to get another dragon. I'm not going to get another dragon. Like, still have his tank in the garage, but that was more so because it was like hard to get rid of because it was big and awkward. Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe I'll get a fish or something in the meantime. I don't know. Maybe I don't want a fish.
No. If you're going to get a bearded dragon, just get a bearded dragon. Don't do a phase to get into the bearded dragon. But I would say definitely get all the equipment and everything beforehand.
Yeah, so I don't have to buy anything last minute.
Yeah, agreed. Do some research, figure out what you want to do, and then, go for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I want something else.
I don't know why you want something else either. We got more than enough on our plate.
Maybe I have I don't know. I want something. I don't know how to explain it. Like my brain needs something. It's not like I don't have nothing to take care of. I need to do a tally of how many houseplants I have.
Yeah, you talked about this on the 3rd episode.
Yeah, well, I don't remember. So remind me to do a tally of the plants after this. I have plenty of plants to take care of, but I almost just feel like I kind of want a pet, even though I was really destroyed when Rambo died.
Well, maybe take a little bit of time to think about it. Make sure that it is something that you actually want.
I know, but when I talked about it at the nail salon today, I just got so excited, like thinking about it, and I was like, "Ooh, maybe I can get one of like the fluorescent colored ones, like the bright colored ones." But then I was like, "Well, what if it's not gonna be as cool as Rambo was?" And then I get upset because I have like an expectation in my head of what I want the dragon to be like because of how my last dragon was.
Well, you can never expect your new pets to be the same as the old pets.
Yeah, I know. It's just
go into it with no expectations.
I can't do that. You know, I can't do
that. Little reptile brain.
Oh, they're cute though.
Eat, sleep.
Maybe I'll get a bearded dragon tattoo.
Bearded dragon tattoo? What would that? Would it look like a realistic bearded dragon, or would it be like a silhouette? I like the panther.
Yeah, but like not like just the face. Like I want the whole thing with his tail.
The tail and all. Yeah, I've been thinking about the tattoos I want to get on my arm, and I have one piece planned for my shoulder, one nice little sad girl there, and then I want the tree that Val drew on my forearm, and I need at least a couple more pieces, and then I can do some like filler stuff. But I was thinking about getting some type of wolf thing on the outside of my forearm.
Gotta show you a TikTok then.
You gotta show me a TikTok? What, that all men get the same tattoos type thing?
So it's kind of
the clock, like the arrow, the tree,
the lion, the trees.
Well, let me explain the wolf thing. So the wolf thing is more, not only am I a huge Game of Thrones fan, but I have a husky named Ghost after a direwolf from Game of Thrones. So I feel like that could resemble her. Yeah. Be more a piece for a little annoying dog we have.
You should get a portrait of her pretty face.
I just think it would look goofy. I don't want color on my arm.
You want all black and white?
Yeah.
I do feel like my black and white aged better.
I want black and white all over my arm. I'll just keep the color on the legs, I guess. It look kind of weird.
Nah. I have black and white on one leg, color on the other leg, black and white on the arm. I'm everywhere.
You're mixed.
I got color on my back, and then the rest of it's all black and white. Which, speaking of tattoos, do you think Charlie would touch this up?
Yeah, I'm sure he would have no problem doing that.
I need to add my brother's name to it too.
Oh yeah. So some people don't want to get tattoos, or some people want to get tattoos, but just probably will never get them. Do you think it's because they're like scared of it, or like scared of the permanent aspect of it? What do you think holds people back from getting tattoos?
I think people think that they're going to regret them.
That's fair. I think a lot of people do regret their tattoos.
See, I can't really say that though. Like for me personally, I personally feel like at one point of your life, that was important to you, or that pertained to you, or that was a part of you, or that was something you were enticed in. And like, while that might not be something you like now, or something, you know, that still has your interest, that's still a part of you, even if you're not in that phase anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So it's like that meant, don't get me wrong, people get drunk tattoos, and like that's another situation. Like you can totally regret that shit. You get a hot chili pepper on your ass and it looks like shit 10 years later. Like, okay, I can understand that. But even like my big one on my back, that was my first tattoo. And like, do I think it's the greatest? No. Do I think that it could have been done better? Absolutely. But like, I don't regret it, because at one point in time, I loved the shit out of that thing. And every time I think about it, I think about my mom taking me to get it. Yeah. And since she's not here, like, and then ironically, that tattoo has 17 stars in it. And 17 was how old I was when I lost my mom. And 17 is the date that both of my nephews were born on.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
You do have a number thing.
I do have a number thing. Numbers are a thing for me.
Numbers are definitely a thing for you. They're not for me. Numbers are just numbers to me.
Your dad, they're a thing for your dad.
They're a thing for my dad. Yeah, I know.
Me and your dad connect on that.
Yeah, I know.
We talk about that almost every time I see him. Angel numbers are a thing. Like I see 1126 every day.
You guys like believing in things.
If you don't have something to believe in, like...
Yeah, how do you think I feel?
But you've seen some things that I feel like you have like kind of changed your perspective on things.
I feel like they momentarily did.
You need some more soul shaking things to happen to you?
Maybe that would help me believe a little bit more.
I feel like I got more into it after like I lost my mom, and like little things would happen and I would know like that wouldn't have happened if she wasn't where she was.
Yeah, I just feel like I always rationalize things some way or another, and maybe like I'll be like, oh, that's the proof I needed to make me feel this way or that way, and then later on I'm just, I don't know, maybe I lose that faith, or I just work it out in my head until I don't believe that thing.
Honey, you need to let me wrap you a good crystalware so you can channel all the frustration you have.
Frustration.
You got some kind of frustration.
Oh, there's definitely some frustration going on. Definitely something going on up in my head.
That's okay.
I think that's why mortality scares me so much. It's because I don't have anything to believe in. And that's scary. Yeah. It's scary to think that when you die, things are just done and there's nothing else there for you. And I think maybe for some people, it's just, okay, that was your life and you're done with it. But I don't want that to be it. I always want there to be something else. But
even if you don't believe it, there is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I want to believe, but that's just where I'm at right now. I don't think there's anything wrong with being one way or the other, but
no.
That's just how my brain works, fortunately or unfortunately.
I mean, our bodies are only alive for about so long, but our souls will always go on. Ooh, that was good, and that just came off the tip of my tongue.
Do you keep your tattoos when you're just in soul form?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna be at your highest self. Wherever you were at your best, when you go off into the afterlife, that's gonna be what you look like.
You're at your peak.
Like if you died in a car accident, you're not gonna go to where you're going looking all like the car accident. Yeah. all illness is gone, all worry is gone, all fear is gone. Like, you are going to look exactly like you want to. If you lived a long, happy life and you are an old man who lived and did everything he wanted to do, and that's how you want to go where you want to go, that's how you're going up there.
That's a nice way to look at it. I like that.
I feel like as life progresses, things will happen that'll change your mindset about things.
I certainly hope that's the case.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't want that to be the, like, I want you to, like, have a faith, and I want you to, like, you know, have comfort in knowing that there is something out there.
Yeah.
But I don't want you to have to experience it the way that I had to.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But
it's getting a little heavy.
Yeah.
And on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the podcast here. Thanks so much for tuning in. We will see you guys next Thursday. You can go ahead and watch this episode on YouTube. Every Thursday is when we drop the episode. And we are working on the streaming platforms for the audio version. I think I'm going to pull the trigger, and we're going to be streaming on Spotify as well. If you are just an audio type of person, then I think Spotify will be your best bet. It'll stream on a couple different platforms, but I think that'll be the biggest one. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
Until then.